Which of the following is not true? A. Taiwan has a deer island. B. Taiwan has land crabs. C. Taiwan has campus geese etiquette lessons. Or D. All of the above are true. Keep listening to Formosa Fauna to find out which is the correct answer. Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can become smarter than all of your friends. Hello, every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. I'm Tristan Hildebrand, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're even remotely curious about the animal kingdom, you're in the right place. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about removing Jerusalem cherry plants from Taiwan's Deer Island, land crab patrol, campus geese etiquette lessons, and mixed signals when it comes to dog training. Let's dive right in. The Matsu Islands are a group of small islands geographically close to the Fujian province of China, but governed by Taiwan. Because of their precarious location, Matsu holds both ecological and strategic significance. One of Matsu's smaller islets is called Dacho Island. Dacho is famed as the island of Formosan deer, serving as a habitat for Formosan sika deer and drawing interest from nature observers and conservationists alike. Historically, the island once hosted several hundred civilian and military residents, but over time it became depopulated. In the 1980s, the Taipei Zoo gifted a number of Formosan sika deer to Lianqiang County, and they were released onto Dacho. Over the years, the animals thrived, turning the island into a unique sanctuary now home to roughly 280 of the deer. Today, it is among the few islands in Matsu open for ecological tourism. Local officials are now working to protect the fragile habitat from an invasive species known as Jerusalem cherry. This is a plant which produces small, bright red berries, and it's highly toxic to animals and grows aggressively in places where it has no natural enemies. On Dacho, it has been spreading very quickly, crowding out the native plants that the deer rely on for food and shelter. Researchers believe migratory birds brought the seeds over from nearby regions, unknowingly depositing them across the island in their droppings. Because the deer will not eat Jerusalem cherry, which is good for the deer because they are quite toxic, the plant is still able to expand unchecked, creating patches of barren land where other vegetation struggles to survive. If left alone, conservationists are warning that the invasive growth could significantly reduce the island's carrying capacity for deer, threatening the very population that makes Dacho such a distinctive and iconic wildlife refuge. To counter the problem, the Lianqiang County government has launched a large-scale eradication effort. Rather than resorting to herbicides, which they believe could poison the deer and contaminate the soil, workers and volunteers remove the plants by hand. Once pulled, the cherries are not simply discarded, though. They are burned and turned into charcoal, which is then returned to the ground as a natural fertilizer. The government has also begun planting butter daisies, a hardy flowering plant whose dense root systems help block Jerusalem cherry from regrowing. Since the campaign began in 2021, officials estimate that around 50,000 Jerusalem cherry plants have been cleared, but the work remains ongoing because new seeds continue to arrive with the birds. To encourage public participation, the county has set up a visitor volunteer program running through early October. Tourists who join in the weeding and remove more than 20 plants are given small prizes as souvenirs, turning the conservation effort into both an educational activity and a hands-on way to engage with the island's ecology. Meanwhile, a dedicated veterinary team keeps a close eye on the deer, conducting regular health checks throughout the year. Between January and April, 9 deer deaths were recorded, mostly older animals that succumbed to natural causes, such as age-related illness or weakness. These losses are considered normal in a herd of this size, and experts say the overall population remains stable. The ongoing monitoring ensures that the deer remain healthy and that the island continues to function as a living sanctuary. Today, Dacho's herd is a draw not only for conservationists, but also for ecotourists who come to the island to observe the deer roaming freely against the backdrop of the rugged Matsu coastline. The survival of these animals and the efforts being made to protect them have turned the island into a case study of how to balance tourism, conservation, and ecological management. Land crabs. Land crabs are something I had no idea existed until I think last year or the year before that. The family Gecarcinidae, the land crabs, are crabs that are adapted for terrestrial life, which means life on land, as the name would suggest. Adult land crabs are terrestrial but visit the sea periodically where they breed and their larvae develop. Interestingly enough, most land crabs have one larger claw and one smaller claw. As summer continues in Kaohsiung, a southern Taiwanese city, a remarkable natural event unfolds quietly in the wetlands. Every year, thousands of female brown land crabs emerge from their burrows and embark on a perilous journey, crossing roads and navigating urban infrastructure to eventually reach the sea and release their young. In the Yuanzhonggang wetland, which connects to the brackish mangrove ecosystem of the Dianbao River, this migration is a critical moment in the crab's life cycle, and one fraught with risk. Vehicles, human interference, and habitat disturbance all threaten the crab's survival during this vulnerable passage. Recognizing the urgency, the Kaohsiung City Government's Public Works Bureau has stepped up its efforts. Volunteer patrols now operate at night to guide the crabs safely across the roads. These volunteers clear obstacles, install warning signs, and coordinate with police to slow traffic and prevent collisions. Just think, you know how all the elementary schools typically around the world will have a little crosswalk person to help kids safely cross the road? This is just like that, but for land crabs. It sounds like something out of a fairy tale to me, because I didn't grow up in a place with land crabs. So the patrol's presence isn't just passive, though. They are actively shepherding crabs across dangerous stretches, and they also act to deter poaching and inappropriate interference. The Bureau notes that the crabs tend to move after rainfall, during cooler weather, and under the cover of darkness, making night patrols essential. At the same time, local educational nonprofits like Wetlands Taiwan are organizing outreach activities, inviting the public to observe crab migration at night, learn about the ecosystem, and engage with conservation efforts up close. This intervention is more than a short-term rescue, though. It's part of a broader push to protect wetland biodiversity and reconnect people to the rhythms of nature. City officials and volunteers are hoping that by safeguarding these annual crab migrations, they will preserve a delicate ecological cycle and nurture the public awareness of how human infrastructure and wildlife can coexist. So would you sign up to volunteer to help guide the land crabs to safety, to be a part of their land crab patrol? Just the name alone has me hooked. I would definitely sign up, and maybe that would be the only way to sort of safely and respectfully be in close distance with these just phenomenal, fascinating creatures. There is just no shortage of interesting stories in today's episode of Formosa Fauna. Another good one I'm excited to share is campus geese etiquette lessons in Taiwan. It sounds made up, and it's not. At National Zhongxing University in Taichung, freshmen are getting an unusual welcome. Lessons on how to live alongside nearly 40 geese that roam freely across their campus. The birds, often spotted near the lake, along pathways, and even on the lawns outside of dorms, have become something of a campus hallmark. But those of you who have spent any amount of time around geese may have already guessed, they can also be rather assertive. Orientation leaders now include practical tips in their welcome sessions, including don't try to feed the geese, keep your distance, and if one begins to chase you, stay calm and walk away briskly. The need for this guidance became clear after a series of minor but memorable encounters. Earlier this year, a student trying to take a selfie by the lake was startled when a black swan snuck up behind him and grabbed his diploma. The document was recovered and unharmed, but the incident blew up on campus social media. Other students have reported being pecked when they got too close or startled when geese suddenly appeared along quiet pathways. For many, the birds are both a source of amusement and a reminder that nature doesn't always follow humanity's social rules. Campus staff have taken steps to make coexistence smoother. They oversee the feeding of the geese and maintain the lake's aquatic vegetation, which provides natural habitat and food sources. Students quickly learn that careful observation and respect are key. Giving the geese space, avoiding sudden movements, and understanding their routines makes encounters far safer. Some students even describe moments of fascination while watching the geese glide across the water at sunrise or gather along the lawns and honk, echoing their honks across the campus. In this way, the birds have become unofficial mascots and are able to live in harmony with the students. For new students, these encounters are as much a part of the university experience as lectures and dorm life. By paying attention to the subtle signals of the geese, students can also become more familiar with how to read animal behavior and act in a way that is less threatening to these animals. These lessons may very well transfer over to how they interact with other animals, whether it be wildlife or strays. A few years ago, my grandparents moved into a retirement community that I heard had a great view of a pond and many, many geese. At first, I was thrilled for them. I thought it would be so nice to be able to watch them from the window when you're having your coffee and just be that much closer to nature. Little did I know that people in their community had to stop taking walks on the walking path around the pond because the geese were getting too aggressive, and being elderly, the residents could do little to defend themselves. Some people had even gotten injured, thankfully not too badly, but badly enough that they quit their walks altogether. Not a great thing, because as an elder person in a retirement community, you just want to, keep up being active as much as possible and enjoy your community, but it's been sort of terrorized by this flock of geese. So if you ask anybody in that community what they think of the geese, they will definitely let out a sigh and say, I hate them. So hopefully these university students will find a better way to coexist with these honking geese. When facing a goose, it's important to respect their surprising physical strength. Some species of geese, when full grown, can weigh up to 25 pounds or even 34 pounds. That is 12 to 15 kilograms. That's about how much a human toddler weighs, but they have a wingspan of 4 to 6 feet, which is 120 to 182 centimeters. Their wings are not just for flight, they can also deliver powerful, whipping strikes capable of knocking a person off balance or causing bruises, especially if the bird lunges from a standing position. Their beaks are strong enough to bite through clothing and can inflict painful punctures or scratches on skin. Even their neck muscles are surprisingly robust, allowing them to lunge and jab with accuracy when defending their territory or young. The key to surviving an encounter and coming out unscathed is to stay calm and avoid provoking the bird. Of course, keep your distance and do not run straight toward or past them, as sudden movements can trigger a charge. If a goose approaches aggressively, stand tall, maintain eye contact without staring aggressively, whatever that means, and use an object like a backpack, jacket, or umbrella to create a barrier between you and the bird. Slowly back away while keeping the goose in your peripheral vision, and if you must pass through a group, walk steadily, this is key, without flailing your arms. By respecting their strength and maintaining a calm, controlled presence, you reduce the risk of injury and ensure both you and the goose can go about your day safely. In the southernmost reaches of Taiwan, Fangshan Township in Pingtung County is known for its sweeping coastal views and rich bird life. But these same qualities are putting it at the center of a debate over renewable energy. A local energy company, Pingsheng Energy, has proposed installing 9 wind turbines along the coast. On paper, it's a clean energy win. In practice, the plan has sparked concern among birdwatchers, environmentalists, and local residents. The worry centers on Fangshan's role as a crucial stopover for migratory birds, especially raptors making their way south to the Hengchun Peninsula each autumn. While it might seem like these birds soar high above the landscape, experienced ornithologists say that many fly at lower altitudes than expected, particularly during bad weather or when hunting. This makes them and other species like barn swallows and herons vulnerable to turbine blades. Cai Yizhong, a senior member of the Pingtung County Wild Bird Society, points out that even a single collision can have ripple effects on populations already navigating a challenging migratory route. The debate isn't just about the birds, though. Local residents worry about how the turbines could affect daily life, from the noise they produce to potential impacts on agriculture, including mango pollination in nearby farms. At a recent public briefing, around 40 residents voiced their concerns, urging officials to carefully weigh the benefits of renewable energy against the potential costs to both the local ecology and community livelihoods. The project is still under environmental review, leaving the future sort of uncertain. But in Fangshan, the conversation is already happening about how to balance this push for green energy with the delicate ecosystem. Renowned pet expert Victoria Stilwell had a very popular TV series called It's Me or the Dog, where she visited homes that were considering getting rid of their dogs if they couldn't fix some sort of behavioral issues. In many cases, the families thought that the dog was just bad overall, when almost always it was a behavioral flaw that could be fixed through training. Also, in many cases, one partner loved the dog and the other could not stand it, hence the It's Me or the Dog title. One episode in particular has always stuck with me since I saw it several years back, because I feel like it's a problem that many or even most dog owners have. The family that I saw in that episode had a large dog, and the husband would lash out at the dog for various reasons, one of those being that the dog would get up on their couch. Pet expert Victoria Stilwell quickly found the problem because while one minute the man would be shouting at the dog for being on the couch, the next she saw him or another family member petting and talking sweetly to the dog on the couch, which was rewarding the behavior. The constant back and forth of discipline and rewarding the dog left the dog very confused, not knowing whether being on the couch was acceptable or good or not. Now, this has stuck in my mind for several reasons, 3 reasons specifically. First, because a lot of people don't realize that petting a dog is a kind of reward. Showing any sort of affection or attention is a reward to many dogs. It doesn't have to be a treat, right? Second, because training your pet will not go well unless everyone in the family or in the household is on board and knows the guidelines and what to do. And third, primarily, because mixed signals account for a large amount of begging. We probably all know someone who has dogs who beg. Those people are constantly complaining to their pets, saying, "Go away, leave me alone, no." Yet 2 minutes later, maybe not even that long, they feel bad or give into the puppy dog eyes and reward the behavior by feeding them something. The best way to stop dogs from begging is to just ignore them. Hopefully, this will get you thinking about what mixed signals you're sending to your pets and how you might need to get everyone in the household on board with dog training. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. Thank you for tuning in, friend. See you next Friday for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.